Ms. Dutting, do you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And do we have anybody wishing to do tonight's invocation?
I'll do it. I'll pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this opportunity once again to come together tonight, Lord, as we consider the things tonight on our agenda here at the school board. Lord, I pray that you'll give us wisdom, dear Lord. I pray that you'll help us to make the right decisions, and they are decisions honor you first and foremost. And Lord, I pray that you'll continue to bless our community. Lord, I pray that you'll bless the ones that are here tonight and the ones that will be listening. And we just thank you for your mercy and grace that's been extended to us. And we ask all these things in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Altizer. All right. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda? All right. Do we have any requests for changes to the agenda? All right. Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
That's second.
All right. Moved by Mr. Altizer, seconded by Mr. Marsden. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. Then we'll move right into recognitions.
Okay. Let me just make sure. Can you hear me? Okay. Wasn't sure how close I needed to be. First of all, thanks for those of you that are here tonight. And we have a couple of recognitions. The first one is School Board Appreciation Month. The month of February marks the annual observance of School Board Appreciation Month, and it's a time to salute the work of our school board members and celebrate public education. Our locally elected school board in Craig County speaks out for public schools by ensuring our students have the opportunity to benefit from a high-quality education. The school board, your decisions and actions affect the present and future lives of our community's children. So we all deeply thank you for the work that you do. So I'm hoping the community, the staff will join us in celebrating your work for School Board Appreciation Month. And we have some certificates to give to you. There's just a small token of our appreciation there for you. Got some Tootsie Rolls. Everybody's got to love a good Tootsie Roll, right? And it says, thank you for the important role you play. And you really do play an important role to represent not only the constituents in your areas, but also all of the children in Craig County. And it's truly a calling. To be here and to give of your time every month and time for trainings. We've participated in trainings recently. So it's not just about being here for a meeting once a month. There's preparation time that our board members take to read the information. So again, we just thank you for all that you do. There's also a Craig County Public Schools shirt there for you. And at this time, Ms. Belcher, if you want to come and we will pass out certificates.
Might be easier.
Sure. You want to just do everybody stand up now? Or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. If I call your name, why don't you come up and make a row, right? So I'm going to start here. All right. First, we're going to recognize one of our newest members, Mr. Walter Marsden, who represents the Newcastle District. So come on up, Mr. Marsden. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. Here is your certificate. And after we take a picture, I'll give you this certificate. Okay. All right. So if you want to just stand here with the middle hand, where do you want to go? That'll We'll get a picture for everybody. Yeah. And then next, our next newest member, Mr. Darren Gilreath, who represents the Simmonsville district. So let's give a round of applause. Thank you so much. Next, Heaven Altizer, and Heaven represents the Craig Creek district. Let's give Mr. And then I have Miss Faye Powers, who is our vice chair and represents Potts Mountain District. Congratulations. Thank you. And then Mr. Trace Belisai, who is our board chair, who represents Craig City District. So thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Belisai. So let's just make a little. Pam, you just tell us what you need us to do. Well, actually, I don't need you. Yeah, I want everybody. So, yep, just right, okay, have Trace. And she's a good photography character. I want y'all to just switch to her. Actually, if I can, do you want me here? They're trying to pull back. I appreciate it, but I want to make a statement.
Okay, you all ready? We got 1, 2, 3, there'll be 3 or 4 of them, so just kind of right there. Thank you.
And again, one round of applause for our school members. Thank you again. Thank you. The next item under recognitions is School Board Clerk Appreciation Week. The Virginia School Board Association Board of Directors has designated the third week in February as VSBA School Board Clerk Appreciation Week, with the goal of building awareness of the role board clerks play in assisting school board members, superintendents, and our local schools. School board clerks provide an invaluable service for us and help make our jobs much easier and smoother. Later in our agenda, there's a resolution for the board to adopt to declare the week of February 14th through 18th School Board Clerk Appreciation Week. But Ms. Belcher, we just want to recognize you tonight for the hard work that you do, and she's just does a great job of making sure she's communicating well with you all, and putting up with me and getting what I need. So she has multiple roles. In our office, she also assists Ms. Duncan as needed. So she just does an excellent job, and we're thankful that you're on board.
Thank you.
And she also has some Tootsie Rolls, but if you want to come up, we have a certificate. So, Ms. Belcher, we'd like to present you with a certificate showing our appreciation for you and the board's appreciation.
Yep, and this is from all of us.
Yeah, the board has a gift for you as a token of their appreciation and my appreciation. So thank you. This chair, and y'all just get on this one. Here, I'll hold it. Okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. The board member. Yes. All right.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Belcher. Definitely instrumental in making sure these all run very smoothly, which they typically do. So thank you.
Yes, she is.
All right, moving on to our budget work session. We will go ahead and open the public hearing for anyone that wishes to address the board about the budget. All right.
Anyone wishing to address the board tonight, Ms. Belcher?
No,
No.
sorry.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right, then we'll move on to the budget presentation.
This presentation, for anyone that's watching on YouTube, is available on Board Docs. So you can view that. If you're unable to see the screen, that's available for you to view as well. What we're going to do today, this evening, is just do a brief overview of our budget process and just to let you know where we are at this time in the budget process. It's very early. We do not have solid numbers at this time, but we are beginning the process of developing the budget. So, thank you, Mr. Foster. As you see on the presentation there, at the very end, it's all about our kids. Every child prepared for life, which is our motto. Every child a graduate and every child prepared for life. For life, whatever that means to that child, whether it's going on to a 2-year institution, a 4-year institution, or workforce. So again, we want to give them the skills they need to be prepared for life. And so the budget has to drive what we do in a school system in order to make sure that we're able to support this mission and our goal. So the first slide there, the what, as I just said, it's the financial outline of the division's education program. And every year we want to be very intentional with our money and make sure that any expenditures or any approvals that we make always end to affect our students, student achievement. It's required by the Code of Virginia that we adopt a budget every year, and obviously we have to stay within our budget. You know, we can't spend more than we have, and there are legal consequences if we were to do so. So this slide talks about the actual budget development, and you can see that in November and December we developed a budget calendar. We then receive the Department of Education, it's called a calculation tool, and what we have now is the governor's budget, Governor Northam's budget that he presented. And that's all we have now. And I'm going to explain how that's going to change in just a few minutes. So in December to April, which is where we are now, we get stakeholder input. We have public hearings. We had one on the January 18th. We have another one on March 8th. And we have our joint budget work sessions with the Board of Supervisors, March 17th, April 7th, if needed. And then we're looking at our revenue projections and our expenditure priorities. And again, always looking towards the priority of education for our students. So in April, you all, the school board, will adopt a budget, and that's when the tax rate ordinance is adopted by the Board of Supervisors. In May, the Board of Supervisors adopt their budget. Then we will begin, we may come back to you depending on the supervisor's final budget, because again, as you'll see, there's a part of our budget that depends on local shares, local contributions from the Board of Supervisors. So if that changes, we'll have to come back to you all and make some changes to that budget as well. And of course, July to June, we began with expenditures and with our audits that make sure that we are doing what we said we were going to do with our budget. So what you see there, we've started with the governor's budget, which is the green circle, or the green wheel. Then what's going to happen is there's going to be, the Senate's going to talk about their budget priorities, and they're going to develop a budget, the Senate budget. Then the House of Representatives will adopt their budget with their priorities. Then there's a crossover in bills that occurs. Then we will receive a final General Assembly budget. So what we're working with right now may not be what we're working with when the final budget is adopted by the governor. So how do we determine what the Craig County Board of Supervisors give us to operate our school division? It's called the Local Composite Index, and this determines a school division's ability to pay education cost fundamental to the Commonwealth standards of quality. And that index is derived from three things: from the taxation department. They look at 40% of adjusted gross income, 10% of taxable retail sales, and 50% of true value of real property. Then they look at our population estimate. And every year, the Weldon Cooper Center at UVA does a local population estimate. Then finally, the Department of Education then determines what they feel will be the projection for our average daily membership, i.e. our number of students that we will have. So up there for you is the historical data of the Local Composite Index. And this year it's 0.3362. So that is how they decide what the county must give us. The next slide is just talking about our enrollment projections, and we've talked about this every year. Our enrollment continues to go down. It's held a little steady the last couple years, even in light of COVID, but it's a trend that's happening in almost all localities and continues to decline here. However, I always point out that just because our enrollments are declining, it's not all in one grade level. So I can't just get rid of because like the high school, those teachers have to have very specific endorsements to teach what they teach. I still have to run a cafeteria for all my kids. I still have to run buses for everybody. So we still have to maintain our operations for the kids that we have. So moving into the governor's proposed budget, there are some sections of the budget that I want to point out that I think are important. And first is the compensation supplement. The governor has proposed 5% salary increases for SOQ-funded instructional and support positions each year of the biennium. This is a 2-year governor's budget. So that would result in 10% over 2 years. However, we have to have a local match from the Board of Supervisors to implement the compensation supplement. Now, the compensation supplement, we can receive a prorated payment. For example, if the board decides with our budget to only do 2.5% each biennium, then the local match would come down. So we could still get part of that money. The VRS rates pretty much have remained, they have not gone up, but if salaries increase, VRS rates will increase. And employees are required to pay 5% of their VRS. That is, in code, we have to do that. That's what they have to do. Okay, going back to the part of the optional local match, there's some at-risk funding. The total of that is $466,404 of state and local money. And this money was placed in the budget to support programs for students who are educationally at risk. As we continue through this pandemic, many of our students are struggling in many ways. Last month, we heard J.D. Carlin from Blue Ridge Behavioral Health Care, who presented to you all the results of the survey where our youth are struggling, and they continue to struggle with many mental health issues. We have some academically at-risk students, truancy issues, absenteeism. So the state put this money in there for us to develop programs to support students at risk. However, that requires an optional local match of $156,805 to receive the funds. And those funds cannot be prorated, which means if I don't get, or if the school division does not receive $156,805 from the locality, we can't get any of the money. So we would lose that entire $466,000. The early reading intervention has been part of the budget, and this year it's allowing us to expand intervention services up to 5th grade in the elementary school. And you see the state and the required local match there is $28,895. The other information, there's the re-benchmarking hold harmless, which restores funding for non-personnel costs, pupil transportation, special education, child counts, all that were significantly impacted by the pandemic, causing funding to decrease. Now, in that case, the locality is required to give us that local match. So that amount, $372,538, will be in our budget. Then there's also a grocery tax hold harmless that we will receive this year, $17,785. Also in the proposed budget, there is $1,174,326 for non-recurring construction, renovation, technology, or debt services. We can carry this money over to fiscal year 24 and 25, but we would be applying this at the will of the board towards construction projects as we improve our HVAC systems, our ventilation systems, as we're continuing to work on these bigger projects. And there's no local match there. That's money that the state is given for that purpose. So that's just an overview of the projected revenue from the state, and you'll see the majority of our funding does come from the state, and then it's local, then federal, which are the grants that we received, and then the other are various small pockets of money that we receive. If you look at our division expenditures, now this actually are the estimated expenses in last year's school board adopted budget, because I don't have numbers for this year. But I want to mention that 86% of our budget is salaries and benefits, which are people. And next is operating expenditures. That's, making sure we keep buses on the road, making sure we have utilities paid. And then we have $20,000 in contingency funds, which is not a whole lot for contingency if something big were to break, but we do have that if we need to use that reserved money for an emergency repair that we're not expecting. And of course, this will be updated as we go along with the new revenue that we receive, the revenue projections. And just a reminder, because when you look at the budget categories, want to make sure everyone understands what comes, like, what is instruction? Well, we know what instruction is, it's teaching. But what do we support out of that budget category? So it's the building support, salaries and benefits. That's your assistant superintendent of instruction, special ed coordinator, principals, assistant principals, school secretaries, and bookkeeper. Our teacher salaries and benefits, school support salaries and benefits, including school counselors, our media specialist, and we have a part-time gifted specialist, and our coaching stipends. Also includes materials and supplies for instructional programs, our division share of the tuition to send students to Botetourt Technical Education Center, to BTEC, also some special ed services that we contract, occupational therapy, physical therapy, psychological services, which is a school psych that does testing, not mental health psychologists, but that's school testing. And then some speech materials and supplies as well. And so the next budget category is administration, and that's the salary and benefits for myself, the assistant superintendent of finance, executive administrative assistant and board clerk, our finance specialist and deputy board clerk, our school nurse comes under administration, speech language pathologist, and the school psychologist. Also materials and supplies for the school board office, the clinic, and the division does maintain the copiers division-wide for all the schools. And then other general expenses, our VSBA membership policy services, legal fees if necessary, the Board Docs platform, conferences. We pay for background checks and fingerprinting costs. We pay licensure fees when teachers renew their license. Now it's every 10 years. It used to be every 5 years. And then we pay for the school activity funds audit. So under administration, it's not just what you would see as your principals or your administrative staff. There's lots other items included there. And the next budget category is people and transportation. And again, we talk about how our budget's got to drive student success. Well, got to get them to school. Can't teach them if we can't get them to school. So transportation, we've got to provide a way for our kiddos to get here so we can teach them. So part of the supervisor of transportation's salary and benefits is out of pupil transportation. We have a bus mechanic, we have 9 full-time bus drivers, and 5 part-time car drivers. And the part-time car drivers, they transport students to Roanoke Valley Governor's School and also specialized private day special ed placements over in Roanoke. And also preschool. Some of our preschool students, we don't put on the big yellow bus yet, so they're in a car. And of course, fuel, we have to repair and maintain the fleet, insurance, drug testing, and physicals for the bus drivers. And we do keep some in there for towing services, although we hope we never have to use that because towing means something has broken down. But we do have some in there just in case we need that. The next category is operations and maintenance. Well, Operations and maintenance keep our buildings clean, keep our buildings safe for our students, keep our buildings comfortable for our students with our electricity, heating, fuel, water, and sewer. That all comes out of operations and maintenance. So it's half-time of the supervisor of maintenance. We have 4 full-time custodians and a part-time. We pay for insurance out of operations and maintenance, and general expenses such as custodial supplies, uniforms, required inspections, extermination, repairs and maintenance supplies, and then we have some in there for one-time expenses as needed. If there were to be a big part that would go out, we would have money in the budget to pay for that. And then technology, which is becoming more and more important as we've moved into so many things being virtual. And under that category, it's the salary and benefits for our network administrator and our instructional technology resource teacher. We have some grants to pay for hardware, software, infrastructure, our phones and our internet, and then we have the technology-related programs. Our school messenger, which sends out the automatic calls to families. Our Destiny Library Manager, which manages inventory. Our substitute and leave systems, our talent ed records, which are our contracts, and keeping all of our employee records housed in one place. Our Identikid, which if you visited the schools, when you have to sign in and visitors have to scan their driver's license, which runs that against the National Registry for sex offenders, all that is paid for out of technology, that Identikid as well. And then of course our servers, our GoGuardian, that allows teachers to see what students are doing and to monitor. If they're in a classroom, they can see what everybody's doing, make sure they're where they're supposed to be. And then, of course, our inventory management. This is just, the next slide is an overview of our federal funds. We have Title I, which is McCleary only for educational gaps. And then you see the special ed, the preschool, all of the grants. Title IIA is for teacher retention, so that's professional development for staff, job fairs, tuition assistance for teachers to assist them with their recertifications. We receive a little tiny bit of Title IIIA for our English language learner. We have one L student, so we do get a little bit of money to support that student. Title IVA is our student assistance program, which we use that for our substance abuse program and running groups for student assistance. Our small rural schools achievement funds, that has typically been used as well for personnel to help with the at-risk population. Forest reserve funds, they're never guaranteed from year to year. We never know if we're going to get them until the very last minute. So we take a look at those funds when they come in and make decisions. The board makes decisions about where you'd like to spend that. Impact aid, and then the federal pandemic funds. And the next slides, and I can go more in depth with anyone, but basically these are all of the federal funds that we have received. The first one was ESSER 1, was the first round of funding which has been expended, and we used that for supplies to sanitize school, technology to maintain operations. That was during the first phase of COVID. Then we had the CRF funds, which awarded $100,000, and we used those funds for supplemental payment to staff. We gave them the bonuses that year for the extra work doing virtual and in person. Then we have the ESSER 2 funds and the ESSER 3 funds for the American Recovery Plan Act, and 20% of those funds are reserved for learning loss. And we are planning to use, as you'll see, the majority of those funds for our infrastructure needs and our capital needs. So CARES, there's what we expended out of that. Part-time custodians and L teacher, that breaks that down. The van, passenger van that we bought to transport children. The CRRSA list what we were able to purchase with that money. Again, and all this has to be related back to the pandemic. And we're looking at our HVAC upgrades and improvements out of the CRRSA funds. And then the ARPA funds are the ones we have to reduce. We have to use 20% for learning loss. And last year we offered a summer boost program for the students, which was like a summer camp. We plan to offer that again with this funding. We've bought technology programs. We've invested in a K-12 Too Good curriculum for mental health. And again, placing that money into HVAC upgrades and improvements. So, are there any questions? And again, as we go through the process between now and budget adoption, I will have other numbers for you and we'll update you as we move along. And at this time, are there any thoughts from the board about priorities for either the operating budget or the capital improvement budget?
I think it was last year we looked at getting laptops for all of the teachers, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't able to. Do you think there's any possibility of looking at that for this year? I'm not sure what the price was. I can't recall when we looked at
I'm
it
going to let
last year.
Mr. Foster's actually, when I talked about stakeholder input at the first slide, I had the principals, again, poll their staff and ask for what they need.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem that we ran into, I think, Sam, with the laptops, were trying to get a hold of them, correct? Like we weren't able to. Actually, I'm just going to let you speak to it because you were the one that part of that. So you go ahead.
Yeah, so last year we did have difficulty securing equipment. Everybody wanted it and nobody had it. So we have had some requests for some different technology from the teachers. So I'm looking at what is it that the teachers really want? What will they use in the classroom? All the teachers have a Chromebook, so they can use those to do what they need to, but some of them have expressed interest in a Windows laptop, but I want to make sure we get the right version and the right thing for them to do. So we are looking into all those options. The estimated cost is somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000, depending on what we get and then how many devices. So that's, and I know Ms. Warwick has already mentioned the technology money, but I want to reemphasize on that the money for technology in the budget is for students. And teachers who've been here for a long time know that when we would refresh a lab, the teachers would then get a hand-me-down computer from the lab because we didn't have funds specifically for teachers. So if we're going to get teacher devices, we'll have to decide on where that money comes from. I don't have it specifically in my budget to do that. But to answer your question in a very roundabout way, Mr. Balasai, yes, we are looking into what the teachers would like, and we're looking to see what we can do for them.
Okay, thank you.
And one item that they asked for was a device that would work with their interactive boards, correct, so that they could teach and be at the back of the room and teach, and it will connect. So we are looking into those requests.
Cool. Thank you.
Only question I have is on the division expenditures, looking at that graph. On the contingency, is that being new here, I'm just wanting to double check, is that normal on the contingency to be at 0.3%? That's the lowest I've ever seen, so that's why I was,
Every year, that's been the contingency is 20,000. Yes. I would like to have more in that. The one thing that if we were to have a large repair expense, we could go to the county. We have about 600,000 in our capital money at the county, so we would have to rely on that if it were a large expense.
that's what I was looking at. 20,000 is not much for an expense for a contingency for a school.
It's not. No, sir.
Any other questions or comments on the budget? All right, we will close the budget hearing then. And Ms. Belcher, I believe you said earlier there's no one wishing to address the board?
No, sir.
All right, then we'll move on to the superintendent's report. 6.1, comprehensive plan update.
Okay. Included in your packet and also on public viewing on board docs, just going to talk briefly about our 6-year plan update. The entire plan is there for your viewing, and we developed that in 2017. That was the first item that I was charged with when I became superintendent of April 16, was to develop a 6-year comprehensive plan, but that goes till 2023. So very quickly we will be revising. But what we're doing tonight is just giving an update on where we are with the current 6-year plan. And the first slide, just again, population's approximately 5,000. I think it may have gone down some, but the last estimate I've seen is 5,000. A reminder that school system is the largest employer in Craig County. There's our total enrollment. 50% of our students are labeled as disadvantaged, which means they receive free and reduced lunch rates. And 25% of our students are students with disabilities. So when we met with the initial committee to develop our plan with our stakeholders, this was the mission that that committee created and the board approved in the initial 6-year plan. Craig County Public Schools instills a love of learning and prepares our students to become responsible, contributing members of society. Every child a graduate, every child prepared for life. Our expectations are our vision statement. And Craig County Public Schools is committed to providing a challenging and rigorous educational program. We provide instruction in a caring, safe, and healthy learning environment which promotes the 5 C's: critical thinking, creative thinking, communication, collaboration, and citizenship. The committee also developed core values, our guiding values. And first is excellent, fostering academic excellence in our students through creative and critical thinking. Integrity. We want to instill our students the importance of being honest and acting in an ethical and respectful manner at all times. Our collaboration, where we want to support relationships among students, staff, families, and the community that ensure effective communication and promote opportunities to benefit our students. We had some mentoring that we had started working on with some of the churches right before COVID, and we hope to, that's just one example of one of the collaboration pieces that we want to begin to work on. to really have the community work in collaboration with the schools and with the students so that we can foster academic excellence and integrity in our students. And then accountability. We take responsibility for our progress through a transparent evaluation of student success, staff quality, and management of the community's resource. So we strive and are always transparent with our budget information, with our student test results, and we make sure that we present those and talk to administration and teachers, and then decide how we're going to work to improve those. So that's accountability. We have to be accountable in what we do. So the big picture goal for 2023 was a sense of pride in our school programs and facilities by students, faculty, and community. So we are continuing to promote that sense of pride as we look at possible renovation of our auditorium, a new gym floor, working on the grounds and maintenance for pride in our facilities, and actually holding our students accountable when they are not showing pride by possibly not taking care of our facilities the way that they should. So that's been a direction to the school administrators. You know, the students have to be part of this as well. They're part of making sure our facilities stay nice for them and safe. Secondly, we want students to graduate with skills and knowledge for meaningful employment, post-secondary schools. Just like I said earlier, whatever path they choose to take, we want them to be prepared for that. Competitive academic programs on par with our neighboring school divisions. That still continues to be difficult at times because of our funding and our small numbers, but it's through our partnership with BTEC. We also have a partnership with, it's not a neighboring school division, but with Virginia Western, where we can offer some dual enrollment with some of our teachers. And also facilities updated and appropriate for a positive learning environment. And we're continuing to work on the facilities. Briefly, some of the challenges that I think we're beginning to overcome is continuity with administrators. There were multiple superintendents, and continuity, I believe, is important to continue working towards your mission and your vision. And then we've had multiple school administrators. And again, having continuity in those leadership positions are important as we work through our comprehensive plan. We've already discussed declining enrollment. And these are our division goals: academic achievement, instructional programming, positive school climate, enhanced learning environments, and strengthen community relationships. And when you look at each slide, it lists the goal, ensure academic achievement, and what we are working on: mastering the skills in reading, writing, math, on-time graduation, increasing AP STEM dual enrollment. Any questions about any of those? The next is improving instructional programming. And this year we have been able to add an additional ag position. Our land lab is up and running, which is great. If you take a look, there's some fencing that's there. We have increased, I think, some dual enrollment classes, And again, realize that when I'm speaking, this is from the beginning of the plan, which was in 2017. So we have increased those dual AP classes, the CTE offerings. Also, we added a culinary arts program, which our students have just loved, and you got the benefit of that at the December meeting when you got some goodies from them. And again, just continue to focus on high-quality classroom activities. Promote positive school culture. We hire highly qualified employees and continue to search for that. I'm proud to say that many of our teachers live here in Craig County. Many of them also graduated from Craig County High School and have returned to give back to their community. So I believe that is a real strength, that they want to come back and give back. Our new teacher mentoring, we have improved that, and professional development days, and then they are conducting regular grade level and team meetings to work on positive school climate. COVID, it's been difficult. I mean, it can be isolating for many teachers and staff members, but again, we're continuing to work on ways to promote the positive climate. Then our learning environment, and this goes back to our facilities, our heating and cooling, our capital plan, which we have discussed already, and you know what's in the works there. And community relationships, continuing to work on effective communication and hoping to expand opportunities for parent involvement. With COVID, we've not been able to allow visitors, so hopefully if this begins to decline, we can begin to allow visitors in and volunteers back into the schools to strengthen these community relations. Okay. That's just a quick overview of where we are. Are there any questions?
I know we've talked about like the idea of that Net Promoter Score employee satisfaction survey, looking at which goal was it? Goal 3, I guess. I don't know if that's something else we can visit again. The idea of that
Sure.
kind of anonymous. I know sometimes there's people are worried about saying things. If people are worried about saying things when you know who they are versus they might be more candid when they have something anonymous they can turn to.
Right, sure. So do you have information on that, Mr. Belisai?
Yeah, I can send it to you.
If
I don't have it here, but
Right. But if you want to send me that, certainly. We also do a school survey, climate survey from the DOE, which is also anonymous. But again, any tools to measure and make sure that we are providing our staff and our teachers with the support that they need. I'm obviously willing to do that. So if you'll send me that, that's something we can definitely look into.
What things are in place right now to support like the staff, starting like with the custodians? I mean, do we have anything to show appreciation to them? I mean, I saw a thing the other day, I'll read it to you, and it means a lot to me because I know back when I was in school, custodians was a big,
Sure.
big part of the school kids because they always was the one that had a smile on their face or would wave at the kids as you walk by. But it says school custodians, the quiet hero of the school, they are always the first to arrive each day, clean up messes no one dares to touch, and befriends everyone that passes by. And to me, that's the true part of a custodian in schools. Because,
Yes, sir.
they do the dirty jobs that nobody wants to do. Most of the time, they're the lowest paid members of the staff. And as a school board member, I think it's something that needs to be part of our duty is to, as school board members, staff members, administrators, walk by and say, thank you. We appreciate what you do.
Absolutely.
And because the school is clean. They do as good a job as they can with the budget that we have for the custodians. But what other things are in place for like staff members, like teachers or anything like that? It's just appreciation programs because I've talked to quite a few teachers and quite a few of the custodians and stuff that we do have, and the only thing I hear is, communication issues or anything like that. But I think just showing appreciation would be a big thing from all the school board members.
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak from the division level, is that in December we did, as you all probably saw all of my posts out there, we did a 13 days of Christmas recognition, and everybody had a duck and they had a number, and the community just supported that. It was great. Every staff member were able to get a gift, and then we even had, some people got more than one. So we did that during Christmas. We do staff appreciation weeks, and I try to do luncheons for them as often as I can, because frankly, I could give them little tokens, but they like to eat. I like to eat, so that's a good way to show appreciation. But I know that Ms. Van Dyke, you have got a committee, because one thing Ms. Van Dyke has been focusing on is the school culture at McCleary. So would you like to speak briefly on some of the items that you all are doing?
Mr. Gilreath, I'm glad you mentioned that, because this is something we have been really working on at McCleary, and we try to engage and make it for all, like the custodians can be involved in. So we do have a school climate committee, and the members of the school climate committee go out to, say I have one for the lower grade levels, and anybody that is lower grade level can go to that committee member and tell them, and then they have their input. And so what we do is we meet once a month as far as getting together for a potluck. So like last month, they had a soup potluck that they met, and that usually coincides with when we have our staff meeting. So during the day, we'll have our potluck, and then we have our staff meeting. And then for that staff meeting, we also do a cake that is purchased through the school funds, and that's for the birthdays for that month. So we have that, and then we have what is called the Woot Woot Wagon. And so a staff member brings that along once a month, and the staff can get off the Woot Woot Wagon. And it's usually like a piece of cheesecake or their favorite drink, so that it all goes back to food a lot. But we also have the Toodle, and
Yes.
So what the Toodle is like a positive tattle, and you can either give a Toodle to the students, to the teachers, to the staff, and I read them out loud in the announcements, and then they come and get to pick out of the prize. And that I have several things for the staff, and the custodians are a part of that as well. And so those are just a few things that we've been working really hard for at McCleary. And we have Spirit Weeks, and where they get to wear their jeans, and they love that as well. So next week will be Kindness Week, and we're working on a week that will be special for the teachers and the students. And I think for them just to be part of that, because it is really driven by that committee. So for them to have their voice and to have it heard, I think it has been big. I think I hit all of them. I may have missed
Yes.
a few, but that does seem to be a good drive for them. And everybody is a part of that.
And I know Ms. Steinley, they're also celebrating Kindness Week next week as well. I know you are working together
We are.
with some of that. But there's always weeks where we recognize bus drivers, and there's official weeks like what we're doing now, School Board Appreciation Month or School Board Clerk Appreciation Week. But I know I try to make it a point, and the administrators, and we will continue. And I'm glad you bring that up, because that reminds us we need to tell people thank you and for what they do. And I appreciate that you brought that up.
And another thing with that, I'd like to challenge other board members to, talk to some of them and see what their input is, because that's what we as elected to do. That's our job, is to, listen to what they have to say, and, that's the only way the school will get better. Input. And the staff members, everybody, like I said, from the custodians all the way up to the head teachers, they're what makes this school great. So we need to listen to the input and start doing what we can to change the negativity and change it into a positive order.
Absolutely.
I've got a question, Mr. Chairman. I probably should have brought it up. You know, the governor's budget, it's 10%, but it's over 2 years. And inflation this year was 7%. And best I can figure, the Federal Reserve, even with increases in interest rates, they say 4% would be the minimum inflation rate for 2022. So, you know, if we give 5% raise, they're losing money.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with. It's I mean, that's the unfortunate
Thank
reality
you.
of our budget. It's
Something we need to consider, though, with surrounding counties pay maybe better than we do.
absolutely, it generally is, and like, again, it just goes back to the unfortunate fact that we don't have as much money, and in general, a lot of surrounding counties, on top of what their local board of supervisors required to match of them, give significantly above and beyond what's required. Ours currently gives a little bit above and beyond, but with our tax base and our tax base combined with the fact that we have some of the lowest tax rates in the county, we do what we can with the money we have. It comes down to how much the board of supervisors is really willing to give us. 85% of our budget is already salaries and benefits, and it's hard to squeeze any more out of that, unfortunately, unless we get some other funding opportunities. So I would encourage you to definitely reach out to your Board of Supervisors member about, those funding options. Unfortunately, we're beholden to them as far as what our budget's going to look like.
I understand that, and I will.
And I should have mentioned this as well when we were talking about budget, but I did have a meeting this morning with Mr. Collins and shared with him the information that I've shared tonight and made him aware that if we do not receive all of the matching funds, we will lose about $800,000 in state funding. So I will send that out so that you all have the spreadsheet, and we talked about that, and then you all will have the time in the open session with your Board of Supervisors members so that we can have those discussions.
Yeah, it's definitely good to talk to the Board of Supervisors about. I know they're not trying to pass the buck to them. I mean, they're under a lot of pressure, and a lot of other departments coming to them for money as well. There's a lot of needs and not enough money to go around to cover all of them.
That's where we go to grants.
If we can find
If
any.
you're a grant writer, we could sure use some grants.
But yeah, I definitely agree. I wish we could, and that's definitely stuff we need to look at during the budget while we're working through all this.
Anything else? We go on to the next item.
Moving, 6.2 COVID-19 update. Something we're all glad to hear about, I'm sure.
Yes. For the board and for the public review is the letter that you all have already seen that we sent out to parents, letting them know we were no longer doing contact tracing, and also information regarding the optional testing program if they themselves or they want their students to participate, giving them information about how to take advantage of that. Two other things that I want to share with you that we put into place this week is we have ordered HEPA air filters that have been placed in every classroom now. They arrived last week and we're getting them in there this week. We are also partnering with Craig County Emergency Services to provide interested staff with the N95 mask. The N95 masks are what VDH and CDC recommend for the best protection, but they have to be fitted. It's a different process. But I've reached out to Daryl Humphreys, and they're going to work with us on this. And what we sent out to staff today is a questionnaire. This is, again, totally their choice, If they wish to receive an N95 mask, there's a form to fill out that has to go to our school nurse, that has to be approved so that they can go and be fitted. And then EMS has trained and certified people to do the fitting, correct,
Yep.
Mr. Belson? So that came out today, and so staff members, they have till noon Friday to let us know if they want to participate, and that way I can work with Mr. Humphreys and we can secure the mask and go ahead with the fitting. So again, about choice, if staff members still are feeling unsafe, you know, we provided HEPA filters, and then they have the opportunity for the N95 masks. And I will give you an update to know how many staff members will participate. That just went out this morning, so I'll have an update.
Thank you.
And that's,
Yeah, I know we're all happy to start getting back to some semblance of normal and
yes, sir.
get back to what we're actually here to do, which is, you know, educating the kids and dedicating more of our faculty's time back to their actual job.
Yes, yes, correct. Because I will tell you, contact tracing, hours and hours and hours. And it also resulted in lots of quarantining if students were close contacts here at school. So now that's going to reduce the quarantining. Now, if there's still a close contact at home, but the parents reach out to us and they're following those protocols if they're a household contact. But it is freeing up staff members' time to determine, you know, if you were with Mr. Foster, if, you know, over 15 minutes and during lunchroom. So that's going to really significantly help our staff. So yes, we appreciate that.
All right, moving on to new business, 7.1, resolution for School Board Clerk Appreciation Week.
So what you have before you is a resolution from the VSBA declaring February 14th through the 18th as School Board Clerk Appreciation Week. And once approved, we will send this to the media so that they are aware of the resolution.
Do we have a motion to approve the resolution declaring the week of February 14th through 18th, 2022 as VSBA School Board Clerk Appreciation Week?
I make the motion that we approve the resolution.
I second that motion.
All right, moved by Mr. Gilreath, seconded by Mr. Altizer. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you.
And Ms. Belcher, I think I speak for it. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
All right, and 7.2, 2022 Special Education Advisory Committee.
Yeah, every year we have to have a Special Education Advisory Committee. It's called SEAC, and it's a group of parents and school staff who meet 4 times a year and just discuss special education issues. They also work on our local plan that comes to the board for approval. So before you is the 2022 Special Education Advisory Committee, and Ms. Wolf Carper, who works as a coordinator of special ed, she serves in an advisory capacity, but she's not a voting member of the committee. So this is one committee that we do need school board approval.
Any questions? All right, do we have a motion to approve the 2022 SEAC Committee as presented?
I make that motion.
Second.
All right, moved by Mr. Marsden, seconded by Ms. Powers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. And moving on to the consent agenda. Is there any desire to break any of these out, or do we want to approve the consent agenda as a whole?
I'd like to look at the personnel list.
Personnel list. Do you want to pull that out separately?
Just go into further detail on it and have some discussion on it.
Do we need a closed session for that?
Is that a closed session? Sure it's not a closed session?
It's mainly just, I'd like to talk a little bit more about retention, see what we can do about retention. Seems like we're going through a lot of employees and
Yes, if we
the
don't
posting of jobs. I'd like to understand how that's done.
do we need to go into closed session if we don't talk about any
Closed session.
specifics?
That's what I'm thinking.
No, so am I to understand, you don't have any issues with who we're hiring, Mr. Gilworth? You would just like to have more information, possibly at the next board meeting, on retention and recruitment?
No, I'd like to know, I guess we need to go into closed session.
Are we talking about individual people?
Individual positions, yes.
Okay. Do we have then, is there any other items on the consent agenda that anybody has any questions about other than the 9.6?
I've got one question. Reading the internet, it's one committee, there were two board members on, and they're both not here anymore. I think Pat Zachary's on it, and then the lady from Craig Creek, she was on it, but they're both gone. Reading.
Was it maybe the special education? There was a committee that is no longer operational.
Okay. Maybe
There's a
that's what I
regional
saw.
committee. Yeah,
There
there's a
was a
regional special.
Pretty long list of people.
I'm not. Do you remember which committee it was specifically?
No, that's what I'm saying. I didn't.
And any board members are always welcome to serve on the special ed
Yeah, well, I
advisory
would just-
committee.
I don't think it was special education. I think it was like a teacher board thing. It was like 9 or 10 members on it. Maybe it's not in existence anymore. I just was reading through
Okay.
material.
Was it the comprehensive plan committee?
Might have been
And those were the members that were on the school board
at that time.
at that time?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's probably what I read.
Yes, and so we will be revisiting soon, and we'll be having and recruiting new members
Okay.
to be
Thank
a
you.
part of that. You're welcome.
Thank you. No other items that anybody has any questions about as far as 9.1 through 9.5? All right. Do we have a motion to approve items 9.1 through 9.5 on the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, 9.1 through 9.5.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Moved by Ms. Powers, seconded by Mr. Gilreath. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. And do we have a motion to go into closed session for personnel matters?
I'll make a motion to go into closed session for personnel matters.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
All right. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? All right. We're in closed session.
Closed session.
All right, do we have a motion to certify according to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3712 that to the best of each member's knowledge that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under this chapter and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered?
I make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, moved by Ms. Powers, seconded by Mr. Marsden. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, and moving on to actions resulting from closed session, do we have a motion to approve the personnel list as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel list as recommended.
Second.
All right, moved by Mr. Gilreath, seconded by Ms. Powers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed? All right, thank you, guys. And moving on to board comments and information. Does anybody have anything you want to talk about or just say?
Just say thanks to everybody for our shirts and our
Yeah, thank you.
goodies here.
Yes.
I appreciate
Well,
it. It's so
and
sweet
again,
of
thank
you.
you, thank you again.
We appreciate y'all appreciating us.
Thank you, Ms. Belcher.
You're welcome. All right. Adjourned.
All right.
You ready?
Well, yep, if there's no other further discussion, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.